at thirdweb, we have a mission to help you build Web3 apps and kind of abstract away all the complexity that comes with it. So we give you three big components that we consider the building blocks for any Web3 application. First one is contracts. Obviously, any Web3 application talks to a smart contract on the blockchain. And for that, we provide you some pre-built contracts, what we call it. And with that, we basically cover like a lot of use cases. So anything you can imagine that's pretty common in Web3, like NFTs, tokens, governance, marketplaces, voting, all that we kind of support for you and give it to you as a building block that you can immediately plug into your apps. And so we wrote those contracts. Those are audited and like really optimized. We pride ourselves on having very, very cheap deployment costs with like a proxy architecture. And so these are great if you don't have your own smart contract, just want to build something that just deals with NFTs, maybe you want to do your job, maybe you want to do your own marketplace, we have those contracts for you. Then the two other pieces that we give you is a layer of SDKs, which you can integrate into your applications. So this can be your backend or your front end or your game. And so we support different languages there. We have TypeScript, JavaScript, Python, Go, and Unity. And there's more platforms coming. So this is like for you to now talk to those smart contracts from your application with a really nice and intuitive API. And then the last piece that we provide is we call our dashboards, which you can think of as an admin dashboard for your contracts so that you can do things like manage permissions, royalties, but also interact with your contract right there from the admin dashboard, and also see interesting data to see what's happening with your contract once it's live out there. So these three big blocks kind of we think is like the essential components you need for a Web3 app, and we try to help you in every step of the way, all the way from contracts all the way to your live application. And so kind of that's the quick overview. Basically, we have these pre-built contracts that come with SDKs that are very nice APIs and some dashboards that are all built in. And you can play with that on thirdweb.com and just start browsing around. The other thing that's important about Thirdweb, and one of the reasons why I love working here, is that we try to adopt the Web3 ethos as much as possible. And so even though we consider ourselves a platform, like a framework, we actually don't own any servers. We hold no data ourselves. We're kind of more of a like a tool, like an accelerator for you to deploy contracts, talk to them, etc., visualize them. But all of our, we're not a middleman in there. You own the smart contract. All our code, including the dashboard code, is completely open source. And the data is either uploaded to IPFS mainly, so it is your own data. We don't hold it hostage. And again, you're a fully owner of your contracts, and you can take your data anywhere. So that's kind of like our thing. It's also 100% free right now, so definitely look around and take advantage of it. Now, the thing that I'm super excited about right now is a new product launch that we have, which we call Fedweb Deploy. So as I mentioned, we have this collection of built-in contracts that are great and cover a lot of use cases. But as we talk to more and more companies out there that use us for their Web3 experiences, we realize that everybody wants to add their sauce. Everybody wants a little customization there that maybe we don't provide out of the box, or just in terms of innovation, like maybe that company wants to have their own smart contract entirely written by them. And what thirdweb deploy enables is a completely new workflow for kind of Web3 development that starts with your own smart contract and unlocks a lot of the capabilities that we give you with our pre-built contracts, which is automatic SDKs to talk to those contracts and all those admin dashboards to interact with them as well. But there is one last piece, which is the deployment itself is, I think, quite novel compared to maybe what you've been used to. So what I want to do in this workshop is try to do a very quick Web3 app, a quick demo app, but it's not going to be your simple hello world. We're going to build a NFT staking app. So NFT staking is this idea that you can take an NFT, store it in a smart contract, and as long as it's stored in this smart contract, you will get some passive income out of it. And I have a little smart contract I've been working on here, which is really custom to me. And what it does is basically take in we can just look at this, a ERC 721 NFT collection contract. So that will be the NFTs that can be staked. And then a ERC 20 contract, which is going to be the kind of coins that I will get back once I stake NFTs on it. So already, like, I don't know how familiar you are with like Web3 development, but this is like fairly advanced. Like this is a contract that interacts with two other contracts, and there's a bunch of custom functions in there, but that's just kind of your regular Solidity. But it's fairly advanced, and it's not something we support out of the box with our built-in contracts. But I want to show you what it looks like to kind of develop this app with the thirdweb platform. So actually, the only thing I need to do to deploy this contract, well, actually, let me step back. Once I've written this contract, in order to do anything with it, to actually make it a product, I need to deploy it. Deploying is, well, at least from what we found, can be a pretty painful process. I don't know how many of you have actually deployed smart contracts out there, but if you have, you should know that basically you probably need to write a little script to kind of prepare what this how this contract is going to be deployed, like a way to construct it, and maybe which chain I'm going to deploy it to. And more importantly, I need to give it a wallet that is going to be the deployer, which means I need to probably have some private key somewhere in my computer so that my deployment scripts can know which deployer wallet is going to deploy from. Now, having private keys on your local computer is a scary thing. Right now, this is the status quo. Like everybody does it. You take like your private key maybe from a generated account or like a MetaMask or something, and then you fund it with some wallets for your testnet, for your production net, and then run the script there and have all these private keys in there. That might be, it's already like scary enough for a solo developer to do this. You know, you can leak your private keys, you can get them hacked or something like that. But when we think more about Web3 development teams and like actual companies working with blockchain and smart contracts, etc., now you have the problem of, I want to deploy on behalf of my company, and like I probably have a company wallet. Like if I'm in a company, I probably don't want my developer to be the owner of the contracts. So I need to give them the private key of the company account, so that the company account is the owner. And now you can see how like private keys starting to move around, and it's a big mess. We talked to a lot of companies, and this is a problem everywhere. Now we've come up with a system where you can deploy your contract without having to set up any private keys locally. So the only difference, and I can redo it right here, but the only difference between a a contract that is that I've written and a contract that can be deployed via thirdweb deploy is basically importing our package, so the thirdweb dev contracts repository, and then marking my contract as a thirdweb contract. So this is basically extending my contract with thirdweb contract. And what that does is basically a marker for CLI to understand that you want to deploy this contract. Now, our CLI is a zero setup CLI. You don't need to set up any account, any private key in your computer, any wallet prior. You don't even need to install the CLI itself. You can just use npx thirdweb deploy. That's the only command you need to remember. And this will basically do a lot of things for you. Here, you can see that it detected my project type. You can work with a ton of different tools for your smart contract project. We support Hardhat, Brownie, Foundry. So here I'm using Foundry. And it even works if you don't have a project set up at all. If you just have a Solidity file in a folder and you type npx thirdweb deploy, we handle that and enable you to deploy that contract. Now, the next thing it said is it detected that my contract here is the one I wanted to deploy because I marked it as a thirdweb contract. And what it did then is take the relevant information we need to actually deploy this contract and upload it to IPFS. So this is generally, we need the ABI from your contract and the bytecode. That's the minimum information we need to deploy it. We also upload other metadata, which is going to be useful for later. But once we've deployed this information, once we uploaded this information, we can open up the thirdweb dashboard and continue the deployment process there. And that is a big game changer here because now I'm not in scripting land anymore. I'm now in a browser. And because I'm in a browser, I get all the advantages of the stuff that we built for you on the thirdweb dashboard. So here I'm connected with my MetaMask. I can quickly switch between all my accounts. Maybe one has more funds than others, or maybe I want to switch wallets entirely. I want to use a Coinbase wallet or a Wallet Connect or whatever wallet I want here. And most importantly, for teams in particular, when you're working with other people and you're sharing that contract, you probably want to share a team wallet. And so we support like a first-party integration of Gnosis Safe, which is a multi-sig wallet. So here, my wallet is part of a Gnosis Safe, so I could go in and paste in the Gnosis Safe address and then select the network, and now I'm connected on behalf of my team wallet. And so now I can deploy on behalf of my team wallet, which means we can now do shared wallet deployment, team deployment without having to share any private keys. And even as a solo developer, I now don't have to like copy paste my private key into my local computer. It's all done via MetaMask or whatever browser extension I use. So that's already a big game changer. And for us at thirdweb, it was a massive workflow improvements to not have to be sharing private keys anymore and use this instead. So once you're in this thirdweb dashboard, what can you do? So here it picked up, this is my NFT staking contract. So it picked it up from my code. This is the ABI from it. And I have the bytecode available if I want to as well. Now let's click deploy. And from here, I get like a nice UI to like fill in information for the instance of the contract I want to deploy. So let's call it NFT staking. This is going to be a Stanford one. And then I can put a description. I can put an image. This is going to be useful for finding it quickly in my dashboard later. And this actually gets read by other platforms as well, like OpenSea. And then here are my contract parameters. So this picked up my smart contracts constructor and translated it into a nice UI for me to fill in. Now, as I was saying before, this NFT staking contract requires two inputs to construct it. It requires an NFT collection and a kind of ERC20 token contract for the rewards. Now, you can think about this like if I was using a regular tool like scripting, etc., I would have to like deploy NFT contracts, then deploy ERC20, and then pass it down here in like one script. Like basically, I have to script all these things manually. In the thirdweb kind of ecosystem already, we offer you a really easy way to deploy this contract through our dashboard. So this is my thirdweb dashboard for my connected account. If I switch to my team wallet, I will see everything that my team has deployed. If I switch to another wallet, I will see that what that wallet has deployed. And with just like a couple of clicks, I can basically deploy one of our pre-built contracts, which is basically what I need for this NFT staking contract, right? I just need an NFT collection and then a token contract, which we have right here. An NFT collection I can deploy right here, and a token contract, which I can also deploy right here. And so once I have deployed, they show up in here. So I have some deployed already. Let's look at this potato NFT one. So this is what the dashboard page for a pre-built contract looks like. So this is the NFT collection. You can mint directly from this contract, or you can write a script to write against this. So this is my script, just minted a bunch of potatoes here. It shows you as well like who owns the NFT. You can do actions like transfer, burn, etc. So this is perfect. This is going to be the NFTs that can be staked in my app. So I can just copy the address here and then go to my deploy flow and then copy the address here. Now let's do the same thing for a token. So I have deployed a token contract here. This is my test token contract. The currency is called test. This is how much I own. This is how much have been minted total. And so same thing, I'm going to copy it and put it down here. And that's it. Now I can deploy my NFT staking contract with this particular collection and this particular token contract. And you can see how like the pre-built and the custom contracts kind of like become like basically Lego blocks that you can put together. So now let's deploy it. I'm going to choose Mumbai. I'm going to deploy. And we did a lot of work on this dashboard to like handle like network mismatches and everything. So like it's just a very convenient way to deploy compared to like running some scripts on my terminal. And so that's it. I'm gonna run the deployments, and this will take me to my deployed contract page. So here it is. We can dismiss that. And so this is the dashboard page for the contract I just deployed. So my ERC Center staking. This is the name I gave it. I didn't give an icon, but this is where it would show up. And by default, we don't show anything here, but this is again like early products. So you will have a lot of information here soon. But the interesting part is again, like building a smart contract is just the beginning. It's like, this is not a product yet. It's not something that people can use. What's interesting is to now integrate this into a little front end or a back end or scripts or something, right? And so the dashboard shows you exactly how to do that with what we call a automatic SDK. So here, the dashboard shows you exactly how to get the instance of the contract you just deployed in code. So this is a TypeScript SDK or JavaScript SDK. And then from there, we show you all the functions that you can call on that instance. And so from there, I can show you real quick what it would look like. So this is how we would use the SDK in like a little script, like a node script. So I would create my SDK, and here basically I can just go and like copy paste some stuff. So first thing I want to do is like get a hold on my contracts. So this is the address of my contract, right? That I just auto filled in. And so now this contract object here is the representation of my contract deployed on chain. So now I can call things. So like, let's say I want to stake an NFT now. So I can just copy this function, and then we'll do await contract.functions.stake. And it wants an array of token IDs here that I can stake. So let me now quickly switch back, and let's see what actually is stakeable, because it needs to be an NFT I own, right? So this is my own address. You can see because I can do actions on this. So this token ID 4 should be stakeable because it's my NFT. So let's take token ID 4, and then this API might change a little bit, but right now, in order for me to wait for confirmations, so like to make sure that the transaction is confirmed on chain, I have to do a little extra function here, which is this await the transaction await. One thing to notice here is that I'm able to call this function without having to generate any code or actually handle the API myself. If you're familiar with Web3 development, you've probably had to import APIs and maybe do some code generation, or use something like Ethers or Web3.js to actually talk to the contract. Here, like, we save you a ton of time by just doing all of that automatically for you, and you don't have to worry about any of that. This was also a big workflow improvement for our team. So to run the script, I can just do ts node, this is called workshop.ts. So let's run this script and see what happens. Let's see if I can actually talk to my contracts from here. And this RPC is my Mumbai RPC URL, so I can talk. Okay, so something happened here. I get an error, and the error is shown right here. It says ERC 721 transfer caller not owner or approved here. So it says my NFT cannot be transferred because the caller is not owner or approved. So if you're a little bit familiar with how NFTs work in something like marketplaces and other contracts, in order for another contract to transfer my NFTs, I need to give it approval. So to do that, again, like without thirdweb, it would be kind of annoying. You would have to like take the API of your NFT contract and like grab a contract instance and maybe try to write a little script to like call the function that you wanted it to give it approval. With thirdweb, the SDK makes that super easy. So here I can grab my NFT collection from the SDK by just doing SDK dot get NFT collection and pass it the address. That's all I need to actually get the, so this is the address right here. I can place it in, and now I have a handle on my deployed contract with this address. Now, this is a pre-built contract, so I get a lot of nice APIs here. So I can do things like get all the NFTs, or maybe I can mint, or here what I actually want to do is something around approval. So here we offer you this set approval for all function, which takes two parameters, the operator that we want to give approval to, and whether it's approved or not. So my operator is going to be this contract address here, and we can make it a little bit nicer. This is like the staking. Right. So this is what we pass here, so we don't repeat ourselves. And so we pass it as the operator, and then we're going to say true. And we're going to wait that. So this is going to tell, give permission to my NFT collection, to my staking contract, to do transfers on my NFT collection on my behalf. Now let's run this again. And now I should be able to, I should have added a log or something to show you that, to show something in the console. But if it completes and doesn't complain, I think we should be good. So let's let it run. And so this is going to do a couple of transactions here in one script. And eventually we'll get there. So once again, like this is like the convenience of the SDK to kind of interact with the contract. Here we go. It completed without complaining, which means this was successful and we awaited for it to be confirmed on the blockchain. So technically, I have staked my NFT. Now let's see what happens in my contract here. It's actually refreshing. So this token ID 4, you see how like I cannot transfer it anymore from here. It has been transferred to this address, which is the address of my staking contract. So this worked. Now, this was to show you a little bit like how you can use the TypeScript SDK straight up to like write scripts. This is great for the backend as well, like Fedweb, Express.js backend. And again, we support Python and Go as well. But the more interesting thing generally when you want to make a product is to make a little front end for it. So let's build a quick front end to show like how much rewards I get from staking, right? So by default, we have this great repository which has a ton of templates for you to clone. So this thirdweb example repository has templates for Next.js, Vite, or a Create React app. Okay, it's not happy. But by default, there you go. So we have all these templates. So what I did here for this demo, I just like took the next TypeScript starter, which is kind of what I like, and just used it as a template and cloned it. And what I get by default is, and it's already running on localhost, what I get by default is this. I get a nice, I get an empty UI with a connect button functionality, a connect wallet functionality. So here I can connect and it gives me my address. This would pop MetaMask if I never connected with it before, but because this is localhost, I already connected with it before. And what that looks like, and this is using now our React SDK, which gives you a ton of convenience. So to connect to a wallet, all you need to do is use one of our hooks. This is the use MetaMask hook, which works with MetaMask. We also have use Coinbase Wallet, use Wallet Connect. We even have things like use Magic Link, which is kind of connect with email, right? But you get a wallet under the hood. And we have also used Gnosis if you want to do like that team management or multi-sig. And so all that is usable for you in your app. By default, you get to use MetaMask, and this is the template. Now, if I want to, once again, get a hold on get an instance of my deploy contract, I would do something like this, equals use contracts, this guy, and again, pass it the URL, the address I want. So I can go back to my dashboard, have it here. So this is kind of the workflow. Like I go a lot back and forth between dashboard and my code. Dashboard tells me what function I can call, it gives me all the addresses. And so it's kind of like that back and forth experience is like pretty nice. So now I have these contracts, and so I can do something like, I want to get the information, right, for my rewards. This looks like it is user stake info. So let's call it like fetch info. This is going to be a function. And here we're going to do, so await contracts functions dot user stake info. And does it want any parameters? Yes, it wants the user. It wants my address, the address that I want to fetch the rewards from. So we have this really handy hook here as well to give you the connected address. So I can pass it in here. And because this is React and, you know, everything is like asynchronous, I have to, this could be possibly undefined. So I'm going to do is if contracts and address, then we can do this. And this should give me some info, right? And so at this point, like I can use this data to display in the UI. Similarly, if I wanted to do like a transaction, like actually write something to my contract, let's say I want to have a claim rewards button in my UI. So this is going to be my claim rewards function, and then I can just do contract functions dot claim rewards, and this doesn't take any parameter. and this will be a transaction, and then I can, await it again, and this should be it. So that's basically how you would build the UI really quickly. I have a quick version built already with the UI and some UI at least. So this is basically the same code. Have my contract here. This is how I get the user staking info, right? And I just put it in a React state so I can show it in my UI. And then this is how I'm going to claim rewards. And then we're going to have a little log in the console for this. And then this is basically the very simple UI. And then it looks like this. So I have it like this. And so this is the page. It's going to load my user information for this particular wallet eventually. Let me make sure. And the RPCs are slow today. And this should tell me like number of NFTs I got, and then my actual rewards. Let's see. Eventually.
And Joaquim, this might be a good opportunity to pause and see if anyone has any questions. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to just, write them in the chat and I can read them out, or, come off mute and ask away. Could be about, this specific area or anything else that we've covered earlier in this section. Cool. If you want to continue, Joaquim.
Here we go. Here it is. So I was able to fetch my number of staked NFTs here. So this comes from this user stake info. And this is the rewards that I'm due for staking this. And so here, if I click this button, it will actually call my function here, which again is all hooked up for me with the thirdweb SDK, knowing that I'm connected with this wallet. And so it needs to do this transaction with this wallet, etc. So it pops the MetaMask right away, and I can do the transaction there. And this will eventually give me that little log that I added. So you can see how, like, in a really short amount of time, I was able to kind of get this little app up and running really quickly. From there, I can like add, for example, a nice like gallery of NFTs that show a maybe stake button on each one. And that, again, we have hooks for that in the React SDK. Then I can expand and like, I don't know, add more, like plug in your own NFT collection there. And maybe you could even from the UI, like deploy your own contract, etc. So like you can see how like I can quickly build up. And here it is, I claim my rewards here. So if I refresh this, eventually I'll get less. There we go. That's, I claimed some. And this should show up again in my tokens. I should have a little more here, which this is a little more than I had before. And so again, like this is kind of the development workflow we're trying to nail, is that you write some code, you deploy with thirdweb deploy, you're now in the kind of this dashboard land that kind of handholds you to do all these like integrations. And by the way, for a pre-built contract, we have the same thing. We show you exactly how to kind of put them into your application so you can get started like really quickly. And then you have the dashboard to like interact with them. The last thing I wanted to show you on thirdweb deploy, which we're really excited about as well, and that we think it's kind of like the future of like how thirdweb is gonna evolve in the future. So you saw here like this NFT staking standard that I showed. My dashboard actually didn't show anything that useful apart from the code. But if we detect interesting things in your contracts, we can show you some interesting things in the dashboard and give you more value on the SDK as well. So here I've deployed another custom contract, this one, which is a ERC 721A, which is kind of like the new hot 721 contract out there. And we had people that asked for it, but our pre-built contract is not a 721A, it's like our own implementation. But I was able to kind of quickly get, and I think it's one of these. So here I have, this is how you would start with your 721A. I just got it from the GitHub and like did my own. and then deploy that. And then because it is following a standard, the 721 standard, we're able to detect things on your contract and give you more value. So here I'm able to, for example, list all the NFTs in this contract because I recognize that it is a ERC 721 standard. And then in the SDK, I'm able to give you even more convenient APIs rather than the contract.functions. Here I can give you things like contract.nft.transfer straight away. And this is a type-safe API now because I was able to detect that. And then if it is mintable, then I can offer you this contract.nft.mint.to, which actually does a ton of work for you under the hood. Like it actually uploads to IPFS for you and then mints on the contract. So does IPFS pinning and all these things that you would have to build yourself. But just by kind of like detecting these pieces on the contract, we're able to give you this like super nice API that does a ton of work for you, and also give you more value on the dashboard. So here, this mint button actually uses that mint function in the SDK that uploads to IPFS first and then mints on the contract. And then we can go even further. And so if I would add more pieces to my contract, so here to get this mint action here, all I had to do is like implement this iMintable. This is something that comes from our package, but I could add more like little modular building blocks to my contract. Like say I wanted like a permission system on my contract. So then I would extend permissions, which also comes from our repo as one of the features we support. And then I would get a UI like what would get in our pre-built contract, something like this in your dashboard. So, and this is true for all of the features that we support. So this is what the permissions would look like. You would get a nice UI to kind of give to technical or non-technical people to easily manage permissions just by adding basically that building block in your own contract. And then like say you have like things like primary sales or royalties, you would get this, again, UI for managing the contract, and you would get the SDK convenience with a really nice type-safe API. So this is where we're going, and we're like kind of enabling like all of the features that our pre-built contract have, but as modular Legos that you can put into your own custom contract, so you can get the whole benefit of the platform with your own custom smart contract logic. I'm going to stop here. Talked a lot. I want to make sure I have time for answering questions, and
yeah,
I see there's a bunch in the chat already.
Yeah, we've got a bunch. Maybe I'll start with maybe some of the easier ones that are just kind of based on what you just started chatting about. So I guess the first one is, so where did you set the parameters for the reward amount? Can you speak to that and show how you did that? That's
so here, my contract is fairly simple, and this is something like I want to keep working on. But right now, the rewards per hour is hard-coded in my contract. So this is like completely arbitrary value in a way that I would get per hour. And then to calculate the rewards, it's just taking the block timestamp and whenever the staking time was, and that basically tells me how long you staked for, and that allows me to calculate the rewards.
Cool. So the next question is, how are you pulling the latest state from the contract once it's deployed on chain? And Rahul is asking specifically if the contract talks to Etherscan or any specific backends.
Interesting. So when you deploy a smart contract on chain, the state of the smart contract lives on chain. You do not go through a backend to read the data there. You go through, you ask the data to a node, like for Ethereum or Polygon, you would ask for, you would query a Polygon node or Ethereum node. That generally goes through like a RPC provider. Again, we can go into more details there, but basically the states of each contract is stored in every single node in the network, which means that to query the state of a contract, all you need to do is ask any node. and it will give you back the state. So here, for example, I do have a bunch of state. I have the addresses that have staked something, and then you know, the time that they staked, etc. So I have a little struct here, and that state is directly queryable on chain. So when I do a function like control the functions.user stake info, what's happening under the hood is that it's translating that to an RPC call with like the address I'm targeting and like what function I'm trying to call. And that gets encoded nicely and sent over the wire to one of the available nodes. And the nodes has that information because they have the full state of the network, and they can give me back that state. So once again, there is no server middleman. Now, what you might be thinking of is maybe something called an indexer, which again is like kind of separate for this thing. Like when you want to fetch state, like the last state of a contract, you go straight to a node. When you want to fetch more like history of a contract, like what happened on a contract, that's when maybe you want to ask to a server that has that aggregated data that has been pulling for days and months and weeks, etc. But otherwise, you talk to the blockchain directly. That's what makes the app a Web3 app, and that's what thirdweb enables.
Hey, thanks. I have one follow-up question.
Yeah.
So how do you select a node? Like, is it like some kind of load balancing thing, or you pick some random node, or?
Rahul, I think your audio is a little hard to hear.
I can hear.
Oh, you could. Okay, great.
Kind of, but yeah, I think I can decipher. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just trying to understand how you pick a node where you would query from. For example, that node may be behind in terms of consensus rate. It's not a product or something like that. So which node do you pick to put the state to previously?
That's interesting. So this is now like way more general, like high level blockchain question, right? So a blockchain is a network of nodes. Now I could ask any node by its IP basically to give me that information. The idea is that all the nodes are replicated, so they all have the same information. And that is kind of hard to do on your own. Like you could build your own node at home and always ask that node. Like you could have your own endpoint basically. But what happens generally in Web3 apps, like more professional apps, is that you want, you know, all your users to have like fast access to any node that's the closest to them. And for that, there's entire companies built to provide exactly that service. So the top ones are Alchemy and Infura, and then to a third degree, like QuickNode. So these are like infrastructure services that have a farm of nodes. They basically have nodes all over the world, and they provide you a nice kind of gateway, like API gateway. So you ask them like, hey, I wanna query something on chain, and they will kind of load balance to their kind of fleet of nodes, the one that is the most relevant for your request.
Okay, thanks. So I was curious, which services do you use, like Alchemy or Infura?
I like Alchemy. Alchemy, they're very similar. Alchemy has a little more kind of like monitoring tools and stuff like that. They're both free to start. So like if your app is like small enough, like I think under 3 million requests per month or something like that, it's completely free. So like I actually like have personal Alchemy API keys that I put in my MetaMask, so that when my MetaMask does transactions, it talks to Alchemy directly instead of a public RPC URL, which also exists, but has like more limitation, like rate limiting and all that. But in general, Alchemy is like, you can't go wrong with it. Infura is great too, though. They have like slightly different pricing, but ultimately they do the same job.
Okay, thanks.
And Rahul, Alchemy actually have some credits, I think, for Stanford related startup. So, you know, ping me or Kun actually, you know, if you want to find out more about that. And next question from Nahar. Are you using a VM to get preview of contract at the overview section? Is his question.
This one, this overview, or in a single page like this one?
Now, do you want to be slightly more specific?
Like this one? Are you using a VM to get a preview of contract at the overview section? Yeah, this one, right? So once again, like this is, we don't own any servers and we don't do any special processing here. We read the on-chain data, that is public data. So for this address right here, behind this address, there is a contract, and using the standardized, again, RPC communication system, I'm able to query information from it. So same thing, if I go to another UI, if I go to Etherscan, so this is Mumbai, so Mumbai Polygon scan. If I go to, yeah, my internet is just slow today. If I go to Polygon scan and paste that same address, it's going to tell me some information too. That information is retrieved directly from the blockchain. And we're doing the same thing in our dashboard, and kind of mixing in blockchain data and IPFS data to be able to show you a nice UI like this with like previews, metadata, etc. And then when I want to do a transaction, like want to transfer this NFT, this will also directly do an RPC call with my signed data to perform a transaction and change the state of the blockchain. So again, there's no middleman at all. There's no need for a VM. Like I'm just querying the blockchain directly.
And then Nahar also was asking about how Fedweb handles pre-sale NFT processes.
Pre-sale NFT process to the thirdweb. So I think you're talking about our NFT drop offering. So NFT drop, let's see if I have one here. NFT drop is one of our NFT contracts that allows you to very efficiently create tens of thousands of NFTs that are not minted yet. We call it lazy minting. So it's probably you're preparing a collection of NFTs for other people to come and claim. And that claiming action might have a price associated with it. And you might have a bunch of rules as well. So here's one of my NFT drops. So there's a bunch of NFTs, and I can set up permissions and, more importantly, claim conditions here. So I can say like how much I want to charge for the NFT, how many NFTs will be kind of claimable in this space, how many NFTs can be claimed per wallet, things like that. And I can even add like, hey, actually for this particular drop that I'm doing, I only want to allow specific wallets to be able to claim. So that's typically like we have allow lists system. So you pass in a list of addresses, how much they're allowed to mint, and that's basically encoded in a way that the contract can verify. And so that way you can organize a very successful like NFT drop where, again, you would create your collection or anything you want, like some membership NFT or anything you can think of, and have it for people to claim at a price or for free, or that, again, that's you decide that. And then we even have a little embed here that's like a kind of a little embeddable piece of UI that you can put in your website that kind of does the claiming action here. Apologies for the slow internet today. But so here it is, and then here I can like claim a bunch of them, and this will actually perform the transaction and ask me for a price if there is a price associated to it. So I think that's what you were alluding to, and we call those NFT drops, and we also have so this is ERC 721. We also have ERC 1155 drops. We call them edition drops. And we even have ERC20 drops, we call them token drops, where you want to maybe like initiate your own social token or something like that, and you want people to be able to claim it. So here I'm not in the allow list for this drop, so I'm not able to claim it. It's too exclusive for me. I'm not a VIP on this one.
Amazing. Well, if we don't have any more questions, I think we won't take up any more of your time, Joaquim. This has been an incredible session, super useful.